Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We continue again our discussion on recording and reporting children's behavior. Right, in this topic, we're going to discuss regarding behavior sampling. There are two types of behavior sampling, which is time sampling and event sampling. But before that, let us have a look what is all about recording and reporting behavior. Alright, in order to do an observation, sampling is very important. Therefore, let us look at the definition and the type of sampling involved in the observation. Let us define behavior sampling. So basically, what is behavior sampling? Behavior sampling is a method on how the observer choose the behavior. Number one. Number two is how observer choose the time to do the observation. Right? I repeat again. Behavior sampling is a method on how the observer, number one, choose the behavior, what type of behavior, which behavior, and number two, how the observer choose the time to do the observation. Right? So number one is choosing the behavior, number two is choosing the time for the observation. So it refers to what behavior you want to record. There are many types of behavior which is not in your favor, negative behavior, bad behavior. So for example, yelling, shouting. So which behavior you want to choose? Fighting. So you focus on the behavior, then you want to, and then you record. Number two is you focus on the time. All right. When a specific time, for example, during the school hours, in the morning and the afternoon. Okay. During 4 hours, which schedule, which timetable you want to observe, during playtime or during snacking time, or you want to observe the whole time. All right, so depending on time. Okay, behavior sampling can be divided into two types. All right, the first one is time sampling, and number two is event sampling. So what is time sampling? Time sampling, these techniques require you to choose the time you want to make a behavior observation. Time samples a sample of time when you observe a child over a fairly long period in certain duration of time. For example, you might choose to observe a child for 5 or 10 minutes when he arrives at school. There is some possible concern in conducting this type of observing behavior. For example, withdrawn behavior, shyness, and ability to relate to other children or adults, or extremely lethargy. Okay, so basically time sampling referring to your time that you choose. So example here is during arrival time. So what happen? What type of behavior normally happen during this arrival time? During the children's drop off by the parents and the teachers receiving children's during that time. What type of behavior happen during that specific time? So this actually refer to time sampling. Means the focus on the timing. Or you want to choose during snacking time. So normally snacking time during 10 to 10:30 a.m. So specifically during snacking time, what usually happened? What type of behavior is happening during snacking time? So that behavior related to a specific timing during the activities. Behavior might happen. A certain behavior might shown during this particular time. That's why they call it time sampling. You choose the time. you decide the time. So normally parents ataupun teachers would share with you the behavior of children's which happen during only specific time. It's not the whole time. Specific time refer to specific activities from the whole schedule of the children's. Specific, for example, during math class, during music class, during swimming class. So that is referring to behavior that occurs during specific time. So in that case, actually you can choose behavior sampling, which refer to time sampling. So that is number one. And then next is event sampling. Okay, what is event sampling? Unlike the sampling, the time sampling, event sampling requires you to choose what behavior you want to observe. So you are deciding on behavior but not the time. So you put aside about the time. You doesn't concern about the schedule, a specific time activities, but you are focusing on the observation of the behavior. You are focusing on the behavior. And event sampling is used to record event during a period, long period as possible. Emphasize on how many times we observe, and minimum for a week. The event that you are looking out for are often displays of aggressive behavior. You will record this event each time they occurred, noting down the time of the day and the comment on the seriousness of the behavior, such as aggressive behavior, such as hitting, fighting, beating, etc. This technique is useful for frequent problematic behaviors, such as child who always spitting, cringing, thumb sucking, etc. It is a technique of observation where it uses the frequency recording, right? So, in choosing the sample is different from time sampling, which is you choose the time. But for event sampling, you are choosing the event. You are choosing the behavior regardless of the time. So you are not focused on which time, but you are focusing on the behavior. So you might spend more time for this behavior sampling because for this event sampling, for this event sampling you will spend more time because you are collecting data. You're collecting information specifically on the behavior of the children's. Means you are looking for the frequency of repeated behavior. So that's why it's focusing on frequent problematic behavior. Next, frequency of event sampling involve a daily account of behavior on a targeted behavior occurs. It can be applied in much disruptive behavior in a classroom. It does not emphasize on the time, usually the duration does not reach hour. The aim and rationale is to assess behavior of a girl who frequently bite and display aggressive behavior like punching and kicking. So you are focusing on the frequency of behavior repeated over and over again. For example, you are choosing a kicking behavior. So you will spend almost most of the time in order to observe the kicking behavior happening. Different from time sampling, you are focused on that specific during hours to see what behavior occurs. It might occur once, it might occur twice, or it might not occur if you are choosing time sampling. But when it comes to event sampling, you are focusing on the behavior itself. Alright? So you spend more time in recording in order to see the repeated behavior to happen again. So the last paragraph, the sample is also useful to know how children use toys and equipment and what is the most preferred or popular toys. It is often helpful to the staff so that they will know how much interest of a particular child to a certain area or corners. Anyway, time samples is useful, right, compared to event sampling on a specific toys or on a specific equipment which interests the children. So basically, this information is helpful for a teachers or for the caregiver, right, to know any particular items, any particular toys, or any specific area which lead to misbehavior of the children. Okay, you can see the summary of these two type of behavior sampling on the tables, right? The time sampling, you can look at the on top of that observation technique, which technique you use, time sampling or event sampling, and the recording techniques, right? You are using either time recording or frequency recording or duration recording. All right. So for time sampling, there are time recording. You're choosing a specific time. Record. If you look at the description, record the behavior if or not the behavior is occurring during a specific time. So the indicator is require the observer to decide on the time. The interval. For example, does the behavior of passing occur within? Okay. So you're focusing on the time. So this is the time recording. Whereby for event recording, there are divided into two. If you're looking at the recording techniques, either it is a frequency recording or duration recording. For frequency recording, the description is counting the number of time a target behavior occurs. So the frequency refers to how many times the behavior occurs. Whereby duration recording is measure how long a behavior will last. For example, one behavior, kicking, how long that kicking is happening. How long, how minutes, how long, how many minutes, how many hours. Okay. And then this is time recording minutes. You record, for example, how long. All right. Watching games, for example. You record three different children, Salmi, Ahmad, and Ali. So Salmi is spending longer time, 30 minutes, whereby Ahmad 20 minutes, and Ali only 5 minutes. Coloring activities, right? Salmi 3 minutes, Ahmad 2 minutes, and then Ali 1 minute. So this is duration recording. So how long does it take for certain activities by different students? So this is a duration recording. Playing games, for example. So Salmi and Ali took 6 minutes, whereby Ahmad 4 minutes. Reading, so the longest spent time is by Ali, and then followed by Ahmad and Salmi. So this is duration recording. Frequency recording. Frequency recording is how frequent that behavior is happening. For example, jumping. Okay, jumping between Ali, Ahmad, Sami, and Emily. Jumping happened 4 times. Ali jumping for 4 times. So the most frequent is Ahmad and Emily on jumping. Running. Ali is running 3 times during 4 hours you observe, for example. So you're observing on the frequent of the behavior is happening. How many times jumping behavior is happening during the time you observe. If you observe for the whole period of class from morning until end of the class, means you will observe how many times that behavior repeated, how frequent that behavior is happening during the whole day. So that is, we call it frequency recording. So this is an example of frequency recording and the record. How do you record the frequency recording? And this is the duration recording, right? You record on minutes. So this is event sampling, the example. Okay, so I think that's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.